Doon found the mare tangled in her south barbed wire fence at 6 in the morning, on a Tuesday in May, and set the bucket of goat milk she had been carrying down carefully, so as not to spill it, and walked toward the mare at the plain, honest walking pace of a woman who did not want to alarm a plain, honest, injured animal. She was 29. She had been widowed of Ephraim Doon, plain, honest homesteader of the Broken Creek Valley, 4 years back, and she had run the small, honest homestead alone since. She knew a horse. She knew barbed wire. She knew the plain, honest, small silence a plain, honest, injured animal held when it was not sure whether the human coming toward it was a plain, honest human. She said softly, "Mare, steady, steady." The mare, a plain, honest, tall bay of maybe 7, with a plain, honest white blaze and one plain, honest white sock, went still. Vin came up to the fence. The mare had, plainly, come through the top wire at a gallop 3 or 4 hours ago. Her chest was cut in a plain, honest, long, shallow line, deep enough to bleed steadily, and shallow enough not to be, plainly, mortal. Her right foreleg was tangled in the second wire. She had, plainly, in her honest panic, wrapped the wire around the leg twice. Vin said, "Mare, I am going to cut you free. Please do not kick me. I would rather not be kicked." She fetched her plain, honest fence cutters from the barn. She cut the wire at 3 points. She freed the mare's leg. She led the mare, plainly, at the plain, honest walking pace of a plain, honest, tired animal, to the barn. She washed the chest cut with clean water and clean whiskey. She stitched the plain, honest, small, shallow ends of it with the plain, honest, fine silk thread her mother had left her. She set the mare in the barn's small, clean west stall with a plain, honest bucket of clean water and a plain, honest half scoop of oats. The mare drank the water. The mare ate the oats. The mare lay down and slept. Vin went back to the fence and mended the wire. She wrote a plain, honest, small notice at 10 in the morning that said only, in her plain, honest, small hand, "Found, Tuesday morning, tall bay mare, white blaze, 1 white sock, approximately 7 years, injured but recovering. Vin Doon, Down Homestead, 4 miles west of Broken Creek. Come collect during ordinary hours." She rode into Broken Creek at 11 and posted it at Weller's mercantile counter. Riley Cass, 33, came up her drive on his own plain, honest chestnut gelding at 4 in the afternoon of the same Tuesday. He dismounted. He tied his horse. He took his hat off. He said, "Ma'am, my name is Riley Cass. I run the Cass Ranch 15 miles east of Broken Creek. Old Weller of the mercantile passed me your notice at noon. The tall bay mare is my Nell. She got out of my paddock 3 nights ago at a gallop when a plain, honest, small thunderstorm spooked the whole herd. I have been riding for her since Sunday morning. May I see her?" Vin Doon said, "Sir, please, she is in my barn." She took him to the barn. Nell the mare lifted her head from the stall bench when Riley Cass came in. She whickered plainly. Riley put his hand on her plain, honest, small white blaze and did not, for a full minute, speak. Then he said, "Nell." Vin Doon said, "Sir, she came through my top wire at maybe 2 this morning. Her chest is cut. Her right foreleg was wrapped in the second wire. I freed her. I stitched the chest. She has been eating and drinking. She will live. She will bear a small, honest scar." Riley Cass looked at the plain, honest, fine silk stitches at Nell's chest. He said, "Ma'am, those are doctor's stitches." Vin said, "Mr. Cass, they are my mother's stitches." He said, "Then your mother was a doctor." Vin said, "My mother was a plain, honest wife of a plain, honest doctor." Riley Cass turned from the mare. He said, "Ma'am, may I know your name?" Vin said, "Vin Down." He said, "Mrs. Down, please permit me to pay you a plain, honest reward for the mare. Old Weller has told me plainly that this homestead is a plain, honest, small homestead. Nell is a plain, honest, thoroughbred mare of a plain, honest, small pedigree, who was, at 3 years, given to me by a plain, honest friend of my father's at Kentucky, and who has, in her 4 years at the Cass Ranch, thrown 3 foals of plain, honest quality, and, plainly, saved me the plain, honest, small cost of importing new stock. A plain, honest $50 would not be unreasonable. Vin Doon said, "Sir." Riley said, "Yes." Vin said, "I will not accept $50 for freeing a plain, honest, tangled mare and stitching a plain, honest, small cut. My mother would have haunted me if I had. Please pay me a plain, honest, small dollar for the plain, honest whiskey and the plain, honest silk thread. I will accept the dollar because the whiskey and the thread were my late husband Ephraim's plain, honest last purchases at Weller's Mercantile, and a plain, honest replacement of them at fair price is a plain, honest kindness to a plain, honest widow. That is my price." Riley Cass looked at Vin Doon a long moment. He said, "Mrs. Down." She said, "Please." He took a plain, honest silver dollar from his coat pocket. He set it on the stall bench beside the plain, honest, fine silk thread. He said, "Ma'am, your dollar. I would ask, however, whether I may drive Nell home in the morning and permit her to rest here tonight. I would also ask whether I may return in a fortnight to check the stitches. I do not want to move her far today. I would sleep at the boarding hotel in Broken Creek tonight." Vin Doon said, "Mr. Cass, please leave the mare a fortnight. She should not be ridden or driven 15 miles for at least 2 weeks. I will keep her plainly in my barn. Come back in the fortnight to fetch her yourself." Riley Cass said, "Ma'am, that is a considerable kindness." Vin said, "Sir, it is only sensible." He came back in the fortnight. He came back in another fortnight to check the plain, honest, small scar. He came back in a third fortnight because Nell had thrown a shoe on his ride out. He came back in a fourth fortnight because his Aunt Sylvia had sent Vin a plain, honest, small jar of peach preserves, and he had, plainly, been asked to deliver it. By the fifth visit, the last Saturday of August, Riley Cass had known Vin Doon 4 months and had, plainly, run out of plain, honest, small errands. He said, at Vin's porch step, "Vin." Vin said, "Riley." He said, "May I say a plain thing?" Vin said, "Please." He said, "I have been in love with you since the fine silk stitches in Nell's chest in May. I have not said so because you refused $50 at the stall bench for freeing my mare, and I did not want you to think I was pressing on the strength of a plain, honest, small silver dollar." Vin Doon said, "Riley Cass." Riley said, "Yes." Vin said, "I have been in love with you since the ride in May, when you turned from Nell's stall and asked me my name in a plain, honest voice. I have not said so, because you paid me a plain, honest, small silver dollar, and I did not want to press against the plain, honest, small silver dollar." Riley said, "Vin, we have both been being plain, honest fools about a plain, honest, small silver dollar." Vin said, "We have." Riley said, "Please marry me." Vin said, "Yes." The circuit preacher married Riley Cass and Vin Doon in the front room of the Doon homestead on the last Sunday of September. Aunt Sylvia, Riley's older sister, 61, of Broken Creek, gave the bride away. Old Weller stood witness for Riley. Doc Farrow of Broken Creek stood witness for Vin, because Vin had, plainly, over the summer taught Doc Farrow the plain, honest, fine silk thread trick, and Doc Farrow had, plainly in gratitude, become a plain, honest, small friend. Nell the mare, plainly recovered, was tied at the porch rail with a plain, honest, small posy of prairie yarrow at her plain, honest, small white blaze because Aunt Sylvia had, plainly, insisted. Vin sold the Down homestead to Wick, a 15-year-old orphan boy of Broken Creek she had been quietly and formally schooling for 3 years, at a plain, honest, fair rate of $2 an acre, payable to Vin over 10 years, in plain, honest, small annual installments. Wick moved into the plank cottage on the last Sunday of October, and, plainly, kept Vin's small, honest orchard exactly as she had left it. Vin drove to the Cass Ranch 15 miles east with 2 trunks, and Nell the mare's saddle. 2 years on a warm September evening at the Cass Ranch, Vin Cass sat on the porch step with Riley beside her, and their small daughter Nell, named for a plain, honest, tall bay mare, because Riley had asked plainly, and Vin had said yes without hesitating, asleep against her chest. The other Nell, the mare, was, at 11 now, at pasture with her fifth foal. A plain, honest, small filly Wick had, at the plain, honest suggestion of Aunt Sylvia, been quietly promised as a plain, honest, small wedding gift for his own future wife. Riley said Vin. Vin said, Riley. He said, Wick's plain, honest, small annual installment from the Down homestead came in yesterday. 2 years of $2 an acre for 80 acres is $320. Wick has paid $320 plainly and on time. Vin said, He has. Riley said, I have set the plain, honest, small $320 aside in a plain, honest, small savings passbook in Wick's name for his own future household. I have not told him. Aunt Sylvia has been keeping the passbook. Vin said, You are a plain, honest man, Riley Cass. Riley said, So are you, Vin Dune Cass. Aunt Sylvia, on the porch rocker with her mending, said, Nephew, niece, please stop being plain honest at me. I am plain honest myself, and I do not need it in stereo. Vin laughed. Riley laughed. The pasture went to gold. The mare Nell grazed at 50 yards. Baby Nell dreamed. And Vin Dune Cass, who had set the plain honest small bucket of goat milk down carefully, at 6 in the morning on a Tuesday in May, and had walked toward a plain honest injured mare, tangled in her plain honest south barbed wire fence, put her cheek against her husband's shoulder, and understood that the good slow country had, in its good slow way, arranged a plain honest small thunderstorm at a plain honest ranch 15 miles east, on a plain honest Sunday night, and had, on the strength of one plain honest set of fine silk stitches, and one plain honest refused $50 reward, given her back not just the plain honest small silver dollar of a plain honest small Weller's mercantile whiskey and thread account, but the whole rest of a plain honest household under the plain honest Cass Ranch roof. No plain honest small silver dollar could, or would, or should, have named a price for. And so it had.